All right, so to talk about brain fog, what I want to start with is brain fog is essentially not being able to think clearly, right? And so what I want to start with is an actual physical example, because this is more of the realm that I work in. So I want to relate this to what we're going to be talking about later, where if you get a physical injury, like let's say you have your ankle and you get an injury at that ankle injury, then you don't actually rehab that ankle. Rehab being defined as you do enough work with it that it gets to the point that you forget that the injury ever happened. Like you're fully aware of what happened, and then you've leveled it up to the point that you no longer have to worry about it. So that thing is like erased because you have completely handled and taken care of it, right? If you injure that ankle and then it stays there, now this is something that is going to slow down your body because the imprint is there on your system that you don't handle it through proper rehab or through proper physical measures or means, right? So when that builds up, like if you have ankle injury, if you have knee injury, if you have a hip injury, you have an elbow injury, right? All these things add up to then slow your system down where it can't work as efficiently as possible. If you fully rehab all of these and get to the point where you can erase them and don't have to worry about them, now it's like your body can work and your system can work as efficiently as possible. So I want to talk about that in relation to the mind and how we think, right? If this is like, let's say that this is your baseline of, and I want to relate to my experience as well, but like let's say that this is your baseline where you don't have any, like essentially the equivalent for the mind of a physical injury, the equivalent for the mind is something that you read, you go through, you listen to, you take in, but you don't understand, right? It's the same thing with an injury. Like if you're not fully rehabbed, you don't really understand the injury. You don't have full awareness of it, and you haven't fully rehabbed it. So it's like the same thing. If you get something put in that you don't understand, and when it comes to the mind, like that can be anything that you read, anything that you listen to, anything that you take in, words, conversations, etc. Like things that you don't understand, those things then start to get built up on this baseline foundation of the mind, where this starts to get in the way, just like an injury would get in the way with your physical capacity. It starts to get in the way of you being able to think as clearly as you possibly, and like as you have the ability to do. And I want to relate that to my experience because, like when I was as a kid, things always came really easy for me and felt like I could think really fast and learn very easily, right? As, like for me personally, once I got to the point where I was in like 8th or 9th grade, when I really started to study and dig into things, and just probably from like 8th grade all the way through college, I took in a bunch of information, and because I didn't understand the information, the side effect of that was I wasn't able to think as clearly, which is what a lot of people would call like brain fog, right? I wasn't able to, like I loaded up a bunch of things like podcasts, audio, video, articles, research papers that I didn't actually fully understand how the meaning of, and so that got in the way of me being able to think as clearly as I could. So like I have an example here of what that would look like, because this would be an example of the type of stuff that I would have been reading. But like, so if we go through this, I'm just going to read this. This is from a research article on neurotransmitters. So another important amino acid, NT. So if you don't know what amino acid is, if you don't know what NT is, like that can start to layer up there, is GABA, the main inhibitory NT in the brain that is formed through glutamate decarboxylase, which, and then in parentheses it says EC 4.1.I.15. Conversion of glutamate to GABA in interneurons, or is produced by commensal microorganisms from microbiota. Then it gives examples of that. Nonetheless, studies revealed that GABA is initially an excitatory NT, as it induces a depolarization instead of hyperpolarization in various regions of the nervous system, e.g. neocortex, hippocampus, hypothalamus, cerebellum, spinal cord. So like all of those, right? If you, this is just a couple sentences within a research article. But if you try to read that, and you don't go at it with the intent to actually be able to learn, visualize, put it on front of you and understand it, you're just building up a bunch of shit that you have no idea what it is. Like, you're just reading things. What is a GABA? or like what is a hippocampus? Like, do you actually know what that is? Like, is it workable for you? And if it's not, then they're just these words that you don't understand that get built up on top of that baseline, and then it slows down your ability to think and process, right? And I think it definitely relates to, because I feel like brain fog is something that a lot of people are, I don't want to say it's like a new thing, but like a lot of people are talking about it, and I mean, if you look at like what we have unlimited access to podcasts, unlimited access to, basically unlimited access to information. Even scrolling through Instagram, scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through Twitter, like whatever. You're just reading things without putting any meaning, without actually understanding what it is, and without like having any intention to apply it, to make it workable for yourself. And as those things build up, like it's basically like injuries for your mind, just like injuries for your body, which if they don't get taken care of and handled, then they're going to slow down your ability to process, slow down the speed at which your system can work. Because now, like if something comes in that you're trying to solve, you have all this shit that you have to work through, that you've gone through, that you don't understand. Versus if I read that article, and as I'm reading that article, I'm working out like, okay, this is actually what it means. Like I make, whatever it is, I just make like this is, okay, we're gonna call this GABA, and this is, this is glutamate. And I actually make it workable for myself to where I can understand it and not just read it. Then that starts to like not build up, and so it doesn't get in the way of my ability to think and process, right? And again, like I said, for myself personally, from like 8th grade through college, that type of stuff was a lot of what I was reading, but I didn't understand how to actually like learn and process that. And because of that, it felt like the speed at which I was able to think slowed down, or what some people might call it more brain fog, because I was just like, there's so much shit and information here that I don't really know what's going on. I don't want to deal with it anymore, right? Because there's so much stuff that was built up. So, I mean, point being is like, if you're going through like the brain fog type of stuff, I don't think it's just related to the shit that's going on in your brain in terms of taking a pill, taking a substance, taking some type of medication, or taking some type of nootropic or whatever it is, like to handle the chemical aspect of it. Sure, that might be what's showing up in your brain, but I don't think that's what's actually at the base cause of it. Like, so many people just go through so much information because, again, if you think about it, we have so much access to information now. Like, everyone has access to information. You can, which is great. Like, you can read, you can learn about anything, everything. But if you just go through a bunch of things that you don't actually, if you're just listlessly taking in information and just simply reading it and then not doing anything with it and making it workable for yourself, that's when that stuff starts to build up, right? So, a little bit different slant on that. So we got